Today I'm sitting down with Anthony Swain, and as I like to call him, A plus Anthony, and you'll see why in just a few minutes here as we get into it. Anthony has built a incredible real estate business. He does not just talk about it; he shows up, he does the work, and he's here to tell us how he built that and then how he's going beyond 10 million. So, welcome to the $10 million Agent Alumni podcast, Anthony. Thanks for being here.
Marissa, thank you for having me. I am definitely glad to help out on your podcast and honored that you chose to have me on. So, yeah, I'm excited to get into it. You already gave me the introduction, but for anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Anthony Swain with Monarch Group Realty. I'm a realtor here in Charlotte and am a proud student of Marissa's. So, yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah. And Anthony, one thing I always like to point out about you is you give back and you've given back from day one. So you were, when I was like, you know what, I want to do a podcast, you were definitely top where I was like, I've got to have him on the show. So thank you.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an honor. I appreciate it, Marissa.
Yeah. So let's get into it. So tell me what you closed in 2025 and then what are you projecting for 2026?
So for 2025, that actually was my first full year in real estate, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit. And according to the MLS, I closed just shy of 11 million, so it was like 10.8. But total volume, there was some off market stuff. It was around like 13 million for 2025. So yeah, definitely exceeded my initial expectations. Taking your $10 million agent training, my goal was to do 10 million plus. So yeah,
Nailed it.
nailed it.
And then what are you projecting for 2026?
Stretch goal, I would love to
Yeah.
hit 20 million. I think that the target would be 15. I'm at the point where I want to continue to kind of every year, level up a little bit.
Like
So
incrementally.
yeah,
Yep.
target 15, stretch 20. And so far, I think I'm a little behind the 20 million pace, but I'm looking good for at least the 15. So that's still exciting. There's still a lot of year left. And I remember last year I finished stronger. So if kind of following that pattern, I should do.
Yeah, so yeah, that's incredible. And so I mean, you did it in your first full 12 months, right? So you are always the test case, right? It's like if Anthony can do it in his first year, so can you. And you inspire everyone with that. And so will you tell us just what were you doing before real estate and what made you get into it?
Yeah, quick background. So I was a nurse for 10 years, actually did some travel nursing. For anybody that's unfamiliar, basically taking these contracts, different places in the country. So I bounced around. I was in California, Seattle, Maryland, met my wife, and then we moved here to Charlotte. And once we kind of settled in, was starting to get burnt out from nursing, kind of started falling in love with real estate, got connected with Angie Castro and you. And Angie kind of suggested, hey, why don't you look into becoming an agent? And one day it just clicked and went for it. This was July 2024. So kind of finished out that year. And then early on in 2025, I just said, hey, I think it's time to burn the boats and just go all in on this and just, not look back and realize, there was nothing I could have done differently. And that was the best decision I could have made, was just focusing fully on the agency. And here we are. Yeah, over a year later since I quit my nursing job, and I'm still, you know,
Going strong.
full-time real estate. So yeah,
Well,
definitely
what
exciting.
when you run it through, so just for people that are dual career, and I think dual career guys is very smart. Like people that pull the plug on their jobs as they're getting into sales, I think is a dumb idea, basically. Like you should keep that job as long as you possibly can so you're not causing stress. But like to help people when you run it through time, money, and energy, how did you know it was time? Like, when can you go through each of those and tell me like from the time perspective I knew, from the money perspective and the energy perspective?
Yeah, no, and to your point, I think that's super valid advice. I think in the beginning, just because, I mean, hey, even in a best case scenario, even if you go out the first day you get your license, realistically, even if you find somebody to close that day or, to go under contract that day, you're not going to close for another 30 to 40,
Mm-mm.
45 days. So, I mean, you have to have some reserves built up. And even if you do at least have like a part-time job or even your full-time career, giving you some money to like just be patient and, start letting things accumulate. Yeah. So, I mean, I think doing that definitely sets you up where you're not going to quit too early, which I think is, it happens to a lot of people. They get 2, 3 months in, they're like, this isn't working. I'm desperate. I need to go back to my job, or give up on it. So I mean, I think having that helps make the transition. But when you know when to transition is when, for me personally, it was when it just started getting too busy. I remember like important calls that were happening while I was at my important job. So it was really stressing me out because I'm like, I have a call for somebody under contract, or, something's going on. They need me to answer. And then I'm at the hospital taking care of patients. So it was definitely a hard balance.
It's like a juggling.
Yeah. And it was like one night, it was midnight, and I was just like, I can't do this, and honestly, for my nursing job's sake, I'm like, I need to be locked in. And I just told my wife, I was going to put in my 2 weeks notice the next day. And that's kind of how that all went down. But I feel like, you'll know when it's the right time, when, you start feeling the momentum building, and you start getting too busy to be able to juggle both.
Well, and I think too, like one of my favorite stories about you is when I first met you and I was like, "Oh, this guy's got it." Because you were, and I'll tell you why. It was how you were standing, what you were asking, and your presence, and then also you were dressed in your scrubs. It was at a real estate meetup that I was speaking at with Angie, and I remember you just stood out. I mean, there were like over 100 people there, and you were like, I could just see you, right? Like your energy field, and you were there after work in your scrubs, showing up, asking questions, and that was even before you got your license. You were, I think, Angie's client at that point with, like, house hacking. Is that
Yeah, we were.
accurate?
Yeah, I think at that point we were still trying to find a duplex to house hack.
Yeah.
And no, I definitely very much remember that night too. And, made it a point to come up to you afterward.
Yep.
You were so gracious with your time, and, appreciated everyone coming up. So all that being said, I think it was meant to be, meant for us to connect. So
Yeah, I agree with that, and that's why, I mean, I call, like, just from, even you didn't even have your license, you weren't doing sales, and I was like, "Oh, this guy shows up." And I think that's part of it, is, like, you show up for yourself, you show up for the community, you co-lead that exact same meetup, which I just think within, what you've done in the span of 2 years is a pretty incredible accomplishment, so I hope you take time to celebrate that every now and again, and how much you
no,
inspire everyone.
it is a good reminder to, celebrate those wins along the way. Sometimes you get a little wrapped into it. So I definitely appreciate that, Marissa.
Yeah. Well, this one's kind of a, not a funny question, but your number one lead generation. So we don't have too much time from when you first started to where you are today. We've got about 2 years, but
Yeah.
when you first started, what was your number one source of business, and is that still the case today?
Um, I think in the beginning, it was really, I mean, you're just trying to scrape together like anything just to try to get your first deals, which I think is so important. Like getting that first deal under your belt. Uh, I mean, it just does the world for your confidence, and just like proof of concept that, hey, I can do this thing. So I think in the beginning, I was just saying yes to any of my colleagues asking me for help with a showing, or Instagram. I was following your advice. I was just putting out there that I was an agent, like not a secret agent. We always talk about, just putting it out there. So at first it was like just some close friends, and honestly just helping out colleagues with showings. Ended up getting a client. But then now, which is still pretty similar, it's sphere of influence. I mean, I could relate probably at least 70% of my business to my sphere of influence and
Yeah.
my top people.
Yeah.
And it's referrals. It's like, either past clients, current clients that I'm working with, or, my top 10 people, my top 50 people. They send me referrals. And a lot of the times those people, um, it's basically, you just have to get over the barrier of them like really getting to meet you. But, they already kind of trust that you're going to be a good candidate because they've listened to someone that's close to them. So I think right now that's pretty much where my business has transitioned, is honestly most just sphere of influence referrals. Um, that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that kind of leads directly to my next question. So it's like when you think of the tools that we use in coaching. So you mentioned top 50 or 10 and all the reach out. And then we also have the sales pipeline board, safety nets, on and on. Which tool kind of sticks out to you the most, that you're like, yes, that's the one that helped me the most?
And it's funny, I have to remind myself that, maybe people watching this episode, they don't know about some of those. I'm giving some nuggets ahead of what they could dive
Like, to go for
into your course. But I think the biggest one definitely in the beginning, which I'll always recommend to people, having that sales pipeline board is just such a connection to where you're at in your business. And I think it's just a daily reminder of where do I need to add, or where do I need to circle back and try to move people up, or even your current clients, like what can I do to, help get them to closing, either finding a property, or if it's a seller, what can I do different marketing? So I think just having that every day, I start my morning and I'm looking at that. And this is, 2 years later, every day I look at it. So I think that was a huge one. The other one I would mention is, for me personally, since I am such a sphere of influence person, I've tried some of the other shiny objects like cold calling, just other things that you like hear
you got to.
some agent that's, having success with it. And at the end of the day, I look back at my business. It's not from that. It's from my spear, because I'm a people person. I like being in front of people. I like making genuine connections. So for me, I invest heavily into that. So I'm constantly checking in. You know, if I see someone's having a birthday, I'll send them a handwritten card. Some big life event, I'm sending them a handwritten card. I hold client events for those people, past clients, current clients. Because at the end of the day, those people are going to be providing you, to me, I think, like the biggest source of your business. So I'm willing to invest, thousands in some case, to put on a big, event for them to enjoy, because truly I do appreciate them. And I think that's a great way to show it versus, I don't know, a blast, an email blast or a text blast, and like, "How are you? Just checking in." I think it's more personal when you actually get in front of them and, show your appreciation. So yeah, to me, nurturing the, top 50, throwing, creating a community for them and past clients, I think is a big one.
Yeah, and that leads me to another favorite story about you, and then everyone that's listening can thank Anthony for this addition. So we like to crowdsource in coaching, and so Anthony, he got into the training brand new. I think you had, like, a couple past clients. In my mind, it was, like, 0 to 2 this way, and I was like, "You know what you need to do? A client event for top 50 and, invite vendors and everybody else." And so you just took the bull by the horns, did a client appreciation event, and you added "and friends." So it was like, so it was client and friend appreciation event, and so now everybody, I'm like, add the "and friends" and thank Anthony for that. So you just tell us kinda like that story?
Yeah, no, I remember this was the first go around, and yes, I had 2 go arounds in your coaching because I thought it was, that important. But yeah, I remember the first go around, I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna do whatever she says. Like, I'm gonna put up 0 resistance, because what she's saying is working, for people." So when you mentioned the events, it was towards the end of the year, and I'm like, "I gotta get an event in." And I remember thinking, "Well, I don't have that many clients. Let me add friends." And I just invited, our closest friends here in Charlotte, which wasn't even really that many. We hadn't been here that long. Um, and looking back at it, I ended up, doing deals with at least 5 or 6 people in that room for that event. And not saying it was directly related to that, but I'm sure it had a part in it. So then I
Yeah,
was like, "Yeah, this is it.
the "and friends."
I have to do this every year." And now I'm into the point where I'm trying to do it quarterly, at least even like a small one and then one big one. So yeah, I think it's great. I think any agent out there listening, I think if you want to do an event after kind of hearing me talk about it, I would say just do it. Put it together, the best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. Invite your friends, because honestly, those people are important too. So even if they're not currently your clients or haven't worked with you yet, maybe they know someone that is in that process and they can refer you. So I think you just have to go out there and do it, even if it's clients and friends.
No, I love, and, like, to me, I'm like, every time I see somebody's event, I'm like, "Make sure you do the "and friends" part," because I'm like, it's brilliant, right? Because then it's like, it removes the excuses to do it, and it makes everybody feel warm and welcome, and it's like, guess what? You do want your sphere inviting their friends and your vendors bringing their friends, because it's a community and connections, and I always, like, in my mind, I'm like, people are clients, right? And clients are everywhere. And so the agents that pay for leads, it's always kind of made me giggle a little bit, because I'm like, the people are literally everywhere. You just have to go out and meet them, right? And those are the clients. And so the and friends component on the event, I was like, brilliant. So thank you, Anthony, for that lovely addition to the coaching community.
Thank you for the shout.
Yeah. Well, tell me, okay, so give us the rundown of your daily and weekly schedule. Like 10, you're, let's call it 13 million plus, aiming at 20 for 2026. So like what is your daily, weekly kind of schedule? Like how do you set yourself up?
Daily, and I've tried to do this, and it's still a process. I'm still working on time blocking my week. Mondays are usually the seller follow ups. I do have a lot of listings, and it sometimes teeters towards being the bigger chunk of my business compared to buyers. So Mondays, a lot of follow ups with all my listings, all my sellers, letting them know the activity, any feedback, where we're at against the competition, other pricing strategies, what I'm seeing. So I think that's important because then, it's at least once a week you're touching base with the seller so they know, you know, what the plan is, what you're doing, what previously happened. Um, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, usually it's honestly probably checking out properties, whether it being my own, if they're in the construction process, working with a lot of investors. I am more hands-on. I'll walk the properties, see if there's anything we can kind of do differently before, getting to the final phase. Um, Third, and sometimes that'll be social media too. I'll mix in when I can, trying to batch some content together. Thursdays and Fridays. Thursdays, a lot of listings usually are coming soon or getting listed. So I usually like to make Thursday my buyer day, where I'm touching base with all my buyers, letting them know like, hey, this is what I've seen. This just hit the market. It's coming soon. Do you want to book a showing for the first appointment day? And just kind of setting up a game plan for the weekend if they do want to go out and show, so then I can start working on the schedule. Friday, I try to make my new meeting days. So, if I'm doing a buyer seller consult, um, if a vendor or, another, uh, uh, just really anyone wants to meet, I try to make it Fridays because for me,
Yeah,
uh,
I agree. Yeah, I do the exact same thing. Fridays are
Fridays,
smoother.
I feel like for me, sometimes it's a little difficult to go from, meeting where you're like being more social, to like flipping back to like work.
Totally agree.
And then of course on the weekends it's open houses, showings. Um, so that's kind of the rhythm. It's kind of like repeats. And you know how it is in real estate. Honestly, sometimes your schedule, you like to think it's going to be
The
one
8
way,
it's
and
the
then
80%, 80 to 70% follow the schedule and you're golden.
yeah, and then other times where it's like, you have to deviate to, make things work or accommodate. But that's generally what I like to follow. And I think it's important to at least have some guideline of what you're doing on a weekly basis, and kind of checking in. And like you always preach, doing the audits, uh, like, hey, if, you want to be a 10 million plus agent, you always say, the $250,000, $300,000 CEO, would you
Yeah.
hire yourself or give
Yeah.
yourself a raise? And I think that is so true. Some weeks where I was like, oh man, what did I even do? And then you're you're like, yeah, is this really like, gonna get me to the next level? And you're like, all right, no. All right, what do I need to do differently? And I think when you're looking at it from that perspective, you can tweak things and not be critical, but just at least kind of navigate where you're at.
Observing patterns, right? And that's one thing is like observing patterns with neutrality is one of the best things you can learn to do as a salesperson, which easier said than done. And
Yeah.
then course correct.
And even if you look kind of like retrospectively, like if you had a huge month, like you can even look back to your calendar,
And
the
see what
month
happened.
prior.
Yeah.
Oh, you were on like 2 or 3 appointments every week. Well, I wonder
No.
why you were so busy. Or like, you
Yeah.
did 6 open houses last month. Oh, wow, now your pipeline board has 12 buyer leads, right? So it's like when you look back, you can kind of predict the future. So I think keeping that in mind too is like, hey, what I'm doing now is probably going to impact my next month and the month after.
Yeah. That's for sure. Well, okay, so you obviously do great client work. You take care of your clients very well. It's like I know a couple of your investors, they love you, right? So you're showing up. My question though is how do you take care of yourself? Like how do because you are an athlete, you're a phenomenal husband, wonderful dog dad, like great friend. Like how do you like pour how do you as you're pouring into everyone else, how do you make sure you're still pouring back into Anthony?
That is a great question. Hopefully, if Christina ever watches this, you heard it here. Phenomenal husband.
Yes.
I think, taking care of yourself, I think just prioritizing some off days, because if not, it could definitely become an 8-day a week, 25-hour a day job, um, career. So I think if you don't kind of schedule some time to kind of just, hey, like I'm not going to be glued to my phone or, just thinking about work, it I mean, it can definitely become a grind fast if you're not taking that time off. Um, and yeah, just setting limits. I it's for my clients. I'm still at a point where I'm pretty much always available, but there's some times where you just have to set boundaries too. Like, hey, not an emergency. It is not. I'll take care of this tomorrow. Or if you are getting texts from people all through the day that you don't have to respond immediately. Um,
Correct.
like sometimes
Easier said than done for real
I
estate
know.
agents, and I agree.
Yeah, and I think just giving yourself some grace with that, that you just can't possibly be everywhere for everyone, but just getting to them in a timely manner, I think that helps. And even now, when I'm going away on trips, just say if my wife are going away for the weekend, I'm trying to plan in advance, letting all my clients know way in advance, setting up a showing agent to help me, if I have buyers that properties come up, someone you trust so that it's, you're not worrying about it. And sure, they can check in if, there is an issue or they want to make an offer. But I think that helps that, you can get a little decompression time. Cause if you don't do that and you like just go take a trip, your clients are wondering where the heck you're at. So I think if you're not kind of like setting that up, it makes it harder. So just I'm still working through it, going from a W-2 where I can just clock out and leave to now, full-time entrepreneurship. It's definitely a balance and it's something you can continue to work on.
Yeah, and I think the what I heard you say was the intentionality, right? It's like you have to be intentional with time blocking it. You have to be intentional with getting that showing agent set up so you can actually go enjoy yourself. And then it's the joke, right? If you're low on real estate business, go on vacation and it just for some reason comes pouring in whenever you're supposed to be out of town. So
But
I
yeah,
don't know.
no, it's fine. I was actually just saying that all this last weekend. We went away. We went to go visit my wife's family in, Florida, and, sure enough, I had,
Yep. Phone's blowing up.
yeah, listing, went under contract, buyer and multiple offer situation. But I did have a showing agent that helped. So yeah, there's still things, even if you're getting away, that, you can rely on other people too. It doesn't always have to be you. So I think just having faith in that.
Yeah. Yep, that's a process too. So give me the what so you went I mean, your journey that 2 year is quick. Like, you went from being a nurse to a top producing real estate agent where everybody knows you in the city and they're watching you. So there's a pressure cooker there to some extent. How do you how do you view yourself? Like, how did you work through that identity of going from a nurse to a top producer? And is there anything that you how you think or operate that might surprise people?
Mm. Um, I mean, I think it comes down to confidence too in yourself. Um, and not being cocky. I think there's definitely a big difference there.
Yeah.
But I think having confidence in your ability and how you approach things, and I think eh, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. I think the more work you're doing and the more consistent you are, I think that actually makes you more confident. But
Mhm.
you can say, I've outworked everybody else. I deserve this more than everybody else. So I think when you're putting in the work, I think you stop second guessing, like, it's just this luck, and is this just going to run out? I think when you're consistently putting in the work and you're willing to do the things that no one else is willing to do, then you
Mhm.
deserve the results that no one else is willing to get. You know,
Yes.
and I'm not saying that I'm the best, but I truly believe I'm meant to do this, and that I deserve this success because I'm working really hard at it. So I feel like that's probably something maybe people don't think about, or maybe they uh think differently. That you have to be cocky, or you have to have this persona that you're better than everyone else, and I don't think that's true either. I'm a nice guy, I'm a genuine guy, but I can still work really hard and have confidence in myself.
I think, as you were talking, the phrase "your audio matches your video," like, that really stands out to me about you. It's like, so when I say that, it's like his audio matches his video, it means when he says that he's going to do something, he wants something, he's gonna pursue it, he actually the video part is he takes the action, right? So, everybody has the operating system, right? Everybody that coaches with me has the exact same operating system. I haven't I tweak it here and there, but, like, it's basically been the same thing for over a decade, and there's various results, right? Why? Like, the quickness of people for you, though, I remember, um, just kind of because I do my autopsies of coaching too, right, and of the students and what's going on, and I'm like, "This guy," I was like, "0 resistance, literally doing everything." The and friends appreciation is one thing. The digital door knocking where I'm like, "Just start 45 minutes, 5 days a week, start commenting." Now everybody in the city is like, "Anthony's always commenting," and I was like, "That's not an accident. He made that muscle." And I was like, "You received the same advice. You could have done this too." So, what do you think it is that like, what is it just is it in you? Is it discipline? Is it a fire, a desire? Because it's like every in my mind, everybody has the same tools, and what they do with them is where things get varied.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, um, yeah, I mean, you have to have a fire and desire, or you have to have a stronger your why. The more willing you'll do the how. Like what it takes to get there. So I mean, I think for me, honestly, what's the motivating is the more effort I put into this, I can continue being a top performing agent and leveling up my career. That I don't have to go back to what I once was getting burnt out from and not passionate about. So that is motivating to me, and honestly just future flexibility. Yes, real estate gets busy and there's days where I am working 14-hour or however many hours. Sometimes it feels like t- triple,
24, all of them.
triple than that what I'm sleeping. But I'm controlling that. And I think there's power to that too, having that time freedom where, you
Yeah,
turn it up or turn it down, having the weekends off if you want them, having a holiday off if you want them.
yeah,
So, to me, having that future flexibility for my family and, myself, my wife, I mean, that means the world to me. So that's definitely motivating too.
yeah. I like that. That's great. Okay, are you ready to help people out?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So someone's listening, they feel stuck at that like 3 to 8 million kind of range, or they're like producing but not quite as high as they want. What would you force them to implement over the next 90 days to get their production up?
Um, the layup, joining joining your
Thank you.
joining your school community, tapping into that, setting up a meeting with you if at all possible, and joining a coaching cohort if it's available.
Yep.
When's your next one?
August.
August.
Yep.
August. So have some time, for
Yep.
anybody that's out there. I would say that's a huge step. And honestly, the agents that I've referred the community to and have taken the coaching, they are like, Anthony, I've learned so much. I'm implementing so much in my business. Every single one. There has not been one person that's taken it and has regretted it. And I'm not just saying that. It's truly what has transpired. So I'll be the first proponent to
Thank
recommend
you.
that.
And
But
same referrals mean the world to me. So Anthony,
yeah,
you are. Thank you.
of course. And I would say beside that, I think it would be Yeah, like you said, just kind of having an autopsy of what you were doing. And I think trying to get to 3 to 8 million is implementing some of those things like we were talking about. And
Yep.
I know they would learn more in your
Yeah,
community,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
think just making sure your brand awareness is steady and consistent,
Mhm.
whatever that is, continue to double down on it. You know, of, hey, your niche is investors, right? Focus on that, learn as much as you can, you know, put yourself out there as much as you can, underwrite deals, you know, just double down on that thing and get to be the expert at it because business will gravitate towards you with that. Or, hey, if you want to be the relocation specialist, better be out there touring houses, touring communities, you know, like finding out all the great restaurants to go to. Because if you start sharing that and you know, people start working with you and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Anthony or Marissa, they were amazing. They knew exactly what we were looking for, the neighborhood. They told us everything." So I think the more you're able to hone in on your expertise, double down on that, and just implement the consistent things. Obviously, hey, you know, if things aren't working after 2, 3 months, hey, it's all right to pivot and, you know, go a different route, but definitely give that time and just be consistent. I think the biggest thing is just being consistent. Whatever you're like doing with your
Yes.
approaches.
Oh, God, that's I think about that too. I'm like, if I could gift everybody in coaching something, it would be consistency.
Yeah. And
It's
just showing,
it's,
yeah, showing up
showing up.
week after week, putting in the work. And even sometimes when you're not getting the results, it takes a little bit. You know, you have to
That's the
continue
challenge. Yep.
planting the seeds, even if you're not seeing the results initially, because they'll come. I I can guarantee anyone that's following, you know, the at least the spare, you know, the minimum standard of what you suggest, if they are doing that on a week to week basis, you will do sales. You will increase your sales. Uh, I almost feel like it'd be harder to not than to do it if you're
I
following.
mean, I've done my best to set it up where I'm like, "Come on, guys, like, this is the bare" somebody called it the bare minimum the other day, and I was like, "I love it. The bare minimum, minimum standard." I'm like, "Come on, you can do this."
Yeah. So that's what I would suggest is, you know, just really being consistent, putting your best foot forward and effort into those, you know, the big ticket things that'll actually move
Yeah.
your business. I think,
I like the focus too. It's like pick a lane and focus. Like you mentioned, it's like investors, great, lock in on it. Relo, lock in on it, but you can't be like investors, relo, FISBOs. It's like that focus, concentrated effort thing. Very important.
yeah, 100% because, you know, I don't remember who I got this from, but somebody important. They said, "You're most suited to help where you once were," right? So
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is so huge too. Like realize, you know, who you are. Like, hey, if I'm an investor, I'm probably going to be better suited to help investors. Or
Yeah.
hey, if I, you know, my wife and I just moved here to Charlotte 3 years ago, I'm probably going to be suited to help, you know, couples or young people moving to Charlotte.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think wherever you're at, you know, if you're a mom, you're a dad, you're into sports, you're into run club, whatever it is, hone in on that, you know, because you're probably going to be able to help those people that share the same things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great advice. It's kind of like the threads. Like, what are the common threads of your life? And it's like, go there. It'll go better for you. So, when you are thinking about coaching, who would in the program, who would you say it's for, and then who would you say it's not for?
Who it's for, I think it's for people that are generally ready to make a change. You know, obviously if they're reaching out, they're probably unhappy with where they're at in their business to some degree, right? Um, so you're ready to make a change. And I think if you go in with the mindset that, hey, I'm going to lower my resistance wall and do the things and give it a shot to see if it actually works. I think that's the people that have the most success. Who it's not for is someone that thinks they already know what to do, but you know, maybe they would join the coaching just to see if there's some magic, you know, magic bullet that if we hey, we do this thing, then we're gonna triple our sales. Because there is not a
I wish.
spoiler alert, spoiler
If
alert,
I could gift that, I would. I wish.
spoiler alert, no magic bullet. Like you have to do the things. There's not an easy way around it. But they're not it's not hard things. That's the it's not difficult things to master. You just have to build that muscle, like you always say, is just start somewhere, keep working at it, and eventually your proficiency will go up to the next thing. You're the expert at it. You're the expert at throwing client events. You're the expert at, you know, do your sphere of influence. You're the expert at social media, expert at open houses. But it takes practice, it takes repetition. So I think, the people it's not for, to answer your question, is just people that are not willing to open their mind up to the way, a different way of doing things and giving it a chance.
Yeah, and I see that, and thank you for sharing that. I see a lot of agents are looking for tactics and magic bullets, and a lot of marketing is just driven straight at their hearts. And it's actually painful to me because I watch them spend a lot of time and money and energy on things that I'm like, "Buddy, that's never gonna work." Like, you actually have to, or like, "The work works," like, "Get your ass to work."
Yeah.
You have to go do it. So yeah, guys, no, please. I know we've all heard this, but no magic bullets. The work works. You have to go in and put in the reps, and it's like it's that whole you have to be. I will say like you have to be bad to become good, to become great, to become world class, to become unicorn, right? And it's like nobody's gonna skip steps. And I think as adults, we kind of fear sucking or looking bad, but you know, you gotta
You got to get over that.
you gotta make the first video. You gotta host, and and like just start doing things. So
Yeah, you
that's the
gotta
only way to
host
get better.
host the first open house where you're awkward and afraid to ask anybody for their contact info.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like do the one that I hate the most is like the seller asked you to sign in and I was like, now you've just lied to them. So like now you're gonna call them and follow up and you've broken all trust. But anyway, I digress. So can I ask you a couple more? So I want to rewind back to you said on your production level, tell me why you don't put certain deals in the MLS. I'm just curious, just straight curiosity question. So like when you close off market, like why not put them into
That's a good question. I never thought about it. Sometimes it's because it doesn't have a listing agent.
Mhm.
Oh, if I put it into the MLS,
You just put non-member ID.
okay. Yeah, I've
I
just
was
never really,
curious.
I never really thought about it. It to me, I mean, because
I mean, irrelevant is an answer, you're like, "Don't
that,
care, I know my numbers."
yeah,
I
yeah.
just
So
find that yeah.
I think to me, it's like, yeah, the numbers are fun to track. Well, not fun, but they have meaning. They have meaning. Um, but the ones that off market and sometimes to me, hey, actually just getting the deal was more important than showcasing it on Canopy. Um, but
Yep.
hey, maybe I'll start. Let me start running up the numbers.
Yep. I'm just always curious 'cause, it's an opinion thing, right? So, I always joke, I'm like, "You could put 10 top producers up against the wall, ask them the same question, you'll get 10 different answers and 9 will be correct." So, it's just kinda one of those scenarios, like, do you or don't you put your off markets in MLS? Total random Anthony
Yeah.
question.
No, I mean, truthfully, I think you don't know what you didn't know, so I didn't think I could. So now that you've mentioned this, maybe I'll start.
Yeah. Alright. Tell me what are you working on right now that's got you lit up? Like what's exciting to you right now? Like it could be anything personally or professionally that you're working on.
Oh, not to brag, a lot of things, a lot of good things in the works. Man, so Charlotte Real Producers, they're a magazine highlighting the top 500 agents, vendor partners. This year, I actually found out that I was nominated to be Rising Star. So, uh,
Hey,
in a couple months,
congratulations.
I'll have my photo shoot for the magazine. It's going to come out in September. So for me, I
Very
remember
cool.
when I found out about this magazine, that was just like a goal I put out for myself because I knew I was new and so to accomplish that very quickly is a big deal to me, just because it was something, hey, it was on my vision board and I was, manifesting it and it's coming to life. So I mean, I think it just like I was mentioning before, it just goes to show what you can accomplish if you really put your
Yeah.
mind
And
to it.
the recognition too is important. Like that didn't you don't just show up as the rising star, right? It's you had to do excuse me, you had to do the work to get there. So
Yeah, yeah. So
it's
that
very well deserved.
thank you. I appreciate it. And outside of that, I actually had my first flip investment property gonna be going on the market this weekend. And I remember at one point in time, to me, I just didn't think that was in my wheelhouse. Yeah, I didn't know how to even go about it. My family, none of them invested in real estate like that. Um, but just continuing to level up, started with a house hack, started working with investors. And then I was like, why can't I invest myself? And now, my broker in charge and I were investing together, and we're getting
Yeah.
ready to list this week. So that's exciting too. So all good things in life right now. So definitely very, very grateful and fortunate.
Yeah. So the last thing I kind of want to leave people with is you serve as a field specialist to coaching. So this is agents that have hit the program, they've crushed it on the minimum standards, really built their own. So we talk about the personal standard of excellence. So you have just hit tremendous personal standards of excellence across the board. And you're coming in twice this year to do sessions on agents working with investors and builders. So you tell us a little bit about that. And then anybody that's listening, like, how do they find you? Because it's like, if they don't want to do that work, they could refer it, or if they've got people out of state that want to invest in Charlotte, you and your firm are the ones that like they meet. Like when people say investment, they're like, I want to do investments. It's like, great, go to Monarch, go to Anthony. So what do you have to say about all that?
No, I appreciate it, Marissa. I mean, I think who you surround yourself with too. I joined Monarch, with Angie Castro. I mean, definitely very investments focused. Wanted to learn as much as I could just because I think it opens up, more tools at your disposal to be able to help people. So that's been great. And as far as how I work with investors, definitely more hands-on than maybe many agents out there. Some agents think it's just, oh, hey, once the property's finished, oh, I'll get the listing and voila, I'm listing this, beautiful home. But to me, it's, helping them find it in the beginning, sourcing it, providing the comparables of what I think it could sell for once it's either built or, renovated, and then kind of monitoring it along the way. Hey, maybe this is where we need to pivot because now I'm seeing, I don't know, four bedrooms selling better than or five better than four. And or hey, if we go too much square footage, is not, we're not even going to get the value back. So figuring out those things along the way. And then yeah, pre-marketing, a few weeks out. And then, hey, once it hits the market, getting it sold fast, because that affects the bottom line. The longer they're holding, more interest payments, cost of the investment. So, yeah, just really nailing down how I could help investors the best, just get the better return on their investment. That's what I'm focused on. And so if anyone out there, you're curious about working with investors, happy to, set up a time to chat and tell you what I've learned and what I know. Anyone that's like, hey, I don't, and working with investors isn't for me, then I will happily take a referral. And to me, I take referrals in a very high regard because, hey, most of the times it's friends or close colleagues or family members. And to me, that's an honor to be able to help them. And, I'll keep you updated every step of the way so you don't feel like you're in the dark. And I'll close, I'll make sure they have a great experience and, get their property sold or whatever they're looking to accomplish with investing.
Yeah. So how can people find you?
I think the easy one, a lot of people are on social media right now, Instagram, honestly, pretty much all my platforms. If you just Google Anthony Swain Realtor, I'm probably going to load the first page. Thanks to all your advice, making everything consistent. Instagram, Anthony Swain underscore Realtor, and that's pretty much all my socials, Facebook, Threads.
Perfect.
It's all the same.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, definitely you've got the Marissa Boyle sign off. I'm like, if you do not want to do investment work or you're feeling a little shaky on it, like definitely talk to Anthony. He's
Thank you,
wonderful.
Marissa. I appreciate it. It means a
Yeah.
lot coming from you, and definitely thankful to be, on this episode. And I hope people take a lot from it. And always happy to connect. I'm not one to just say that either. If
Yeah.
you
He means it.
do reach out, I will definitely make it a point to chat with you.
Yeah, he means it. Well, Anthony, thank you. And if anybody listening, if you're feeling inspired, you know that you're built for more, easy first step. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I do a See How It Works $10 million agent operating system. Come in, no pressure, look around, and then you decide. And Anthony, You're the best. A plus 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 Anthony. Look him up. He's awesome. And thank you for inspiring and pouring back into the coaching community so much like you do.
Thank you again, Marissa. I really appreciate you.
See you soon.